Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching T-34-2G playing in the Tier 7 Chinese tank destroyer. It is the T-34-2G. Now the T-34-2G is probably one of the least popular Tier 7 tank destroyers in the game. Nobody really wants to go up towards the Tier 10 Chinese tank, right? Lots of people will love playing the Su-152. Everybody likes that because it has such a wild rate of fire if you decide to play with the 122mm, but also has the option of using the stock gun with 700 alpha damage, or even more if you're using the high explosive rounds on that vehicle, and it is absolutely devastating with that 152mm. So the T-34-2G, it doesn't have the highest DPM, it doesn't have the highest alpha damage, but what the vehicle does have is still has all of its other statistics are decent. It has a 122mm with 390 alpha. Doesn't have the best rate of fire, but it is firing over 6 rounds a minute. This gives it kind of some tier 10 heavy tank DPM at 2,400, and to have that at tier 7 allows you to pick up kills quickly and early in the game on vehicles like the VK3002M. Now, Jura, clearly a knowledgeable player, that he would venture forth into this position, set up the binoculars, set up the camo net on this tank as well, which is a very interesting way to be able to play the vehicle. I always thought that a tank like this would use a gun rammer and vents, but obviously Jura prefers that long-range sneaky approach, and as we're going to see through this replay, he definitely does use concealment to his advantage. So tier 7 tank destroyers, when you're playing on this map, what do you really need to be doing? Well, clearly you want to try and engage at long range in a vehicle like this because it doesn't have enough armor. The frontal armor on this vehicle is 70, and while it is angled and maybe you're going to be able to bounce tier 5 and possibly tier 6 tanks if you're using a little bit of the gun depression the tank has, it's definitely not going to work consistently. Oh, Jury kind of rushed that one there a little bit. I think a little bit more aim on the Stridsvagn 74 would have been able to pull off the perfect shot into the side of the Swedish medium tank, but who am I to judge, because Jura today is going to have an absolutely cracking round of World of Tanks. Okay, so Jura has fended off the medium tanks at decent distances. Now he has to deal with the KV-3 who's coming up along the flank. Now the KV-3 is focusing their fire on the Panther to Jura's right, and that is going to allow Jura to start to rip the tier 7 Soviet heavy tank apart, but also not forgetting about the T-34-85M that seems to be sneaking up. Jura finds a great round through the front of the tier 6 Soviet premium medium tank, and that allows the Panther to distract the KV-3 for a little bit longer to allow Jura to put their third round in. The only person who's damaged the KV-3 has been Jura here, and it looks like Jura wants to also finish the job shutting down the KV-3 from behind, but oh dear, this is nasty. A tier 6 Soviet premium tank destroyer, the box tank with 440 alpha, actually misses Jura. Looks like it goes right up underneath the tank or even to the left, and Jura manages to shut the Su-100Y down. Now, already confirming 4 out of his team's 5 kills right at the start. An artillery splash near Jura forces him to use his medkit, so he has perfect accuracy, but we can see that the aim time on this tank, which is 3 seconds long, it's incredibly long aim time on this vehicle, means that Jura is not able to fully aim the shot, and his friends, in the form of the auto-loading Swedish medium tank, the Stridsvagn M4257, manages to shut down the T-37 on the enemy team before Jura is fully aimed. Don't really want to rush too many shots in a vehicle like this. If you try and rush that aim time of 3 seconds and try and rely on the 0.4 accuracy, even against lightly armored targets, at long range, yeah, you're going to be pushed to see if you're going to be able to connect them convincingly. Alright, so now that Jura has pretty much dealt with the middle of the map, dealt with the south of the map, now also Jura has to deal with the north of the map as well, with an advancing CS-44. Jura clouts them in the side there, instantly removing 419 of their hit points, and that's enough to wake any medium tank up, even a top tier medium tank. This alpha damage on this vehicle just feels like a sweet spot. I love playing the Su-100, and I can totally get why Jura seems to absolutely love the T-34-2G as well. Even though it's a higher tier, this vehicle has more mobility, it's got more DPM than the tier 6 Su-100, and also it's probably got a little bit better armor and definitely better penetration as well. This tank has 192mm of pen, and its heat rounds have got 250. And so if you're against the tier 8 or tier 9 tanks that I'm sure if all of you know the World of Tanks matchmaker, you're going to have to deal with, then that is going to be enough penetration to be able to punch through the lower plate of an E75. Maybe not all the time, but at least most of the time. So Jura seems to be just rushing these shots just a little bit too much, but maybe it's just bad RNG here, holding Jura back from confirming these kills. That one goes true, and that is already Jura's top gun in a game where there are 6 enemy vehicles left. Jura's got to be careful though. He's got 1 armor-piercing round left, and luckily he bounces the CS-44 from the front, saving him 300 hit points in a close run game, where even though he's now picked up 7 kills, his team is still outnumbered. That was the last armor-piercing round entering the vehicle there, and you can see that Jura is actually considering how little ammunition they have left. 8 rounds of high explosive anti-tank, 4 rounds of high explosive, and Jura is loading those HE rounds to be able to take on the weakly armored Swedish tank destroyer, the IKV-90B, renowned for its very thin armor, and if you can either hit its lower plate or just the kind of superstructure around the gun of the vehicle, then it is probably going to go in, irrelevant of what penetration you have. Now, the T-34-2 actually has 61mm of penetration and 530 alpha damage, so if these rounds hit, this should absolutely clout either of the 2 Swedish tanks that Jura is going for. Unfortunately, looks like the Stridsvagn had gone slightly towards Jura's right, so he's unable to be able to connect the shell there, and even worse, the T-34-85M shuts down the P-43 BIS, that tier 6 Italian medium tank on Jura's team, now making it a 2 versus 5. It's Jura and Bob BK in the T-34-85M trying to take down a third of the enemy team, with the half of the duration now preceded in this round of World of Tanks. Okay, so the T-34-85M, Bob, what are you doing? Why are you rushing into these 2 vehicles? But hopefully your distraction is going to allow Jura to be able to get around through the side of the tank, but unfortunately the high explosive round doesn't manage to penetrate, only dealing 233 damage. Will the next one be good? Oh no, the second high explosive round also misses the IKV-90B, and that means that now Jura is in a 1 versus 5 and in contention for the Kolobanov's medal. Okay, so Jura, a little bit rushed on a few of these shells, my friend, if I might be so bold as to say that, but this is where it's going to get good, right? Woo-wee! High explosive penetration on the IKV. Jura does 516 damage there, and a good thing too, because now with only 8 rounds and 4 enemy vehicles to deal with, considering the RNG on some of Jura's shells, yeah, 8 rounds might not go that long. Alright, so Jura gets into cover, avoids at least a direct hit for the M44, but still manages to take 167 damage. Somebody has entered the cap circle. Is it the T-34-85M? Is it the Stridsvagn M42-57 who was spotted on that ridgeline? Or is it alternatively an M44 that has got a little bit cheeky? But considering how many rounds have been approaching Jura's vehicle, I believe that both of the M44s will still be near their spawn in the northeast of the map. Alright, Jura sets up his binoculars, sets up his camo net, doesn't manage to get a spot, advances the next situation. He must know that the vehicle is most likely to be behind the building here, and there he is. Jura puts a heat round right through the side, immediately advancing into the safety of this building to mitigate the opportunity of the artillery to remove his final few hit points. Well, when I say final few, 633 means that Jura's got a pretty good chance of being able to make his way through this one. Both the artillery shells hit just as Jura leaves cover. Now up to 9 kills, ladies and gents, but with 3 vehicles left on the enemy team, Jura has nearly killed 2/3 of the enemy team. And I like this. Jura's asking his team for help. Any info on the T-34-85M, but the team doesn't seem to help him. Funnily enough, the T-34-85M doesn't actually manage to spot Jura here, but Jura manages to spot him, suggesting the T-34-85M might have a dead commander, or maybe just incredibly bad view range, but Jura feels confident enough, even though the T-34-85M was no longer spotted, to put a follow-up shell, dealing a whopping, pretty much 600, 700 damage there to the tier 6 Soviet premium medium tank in 2 shots. You can clearly see why Jura seems to know how to play this vehicle, with 3 marks of excellence on the barrel. Very interesting vehicle for somebody to clearly love so much, as we're going to see in the post-game stats. Alright, Jura is getting absolutely into it. As you can see in the comments of this video, well, comments of the game, he's saying, holy, and yes, this gun is awesome. Agreeing with the T-34-85M on his team that seems to be seeing some magic happen, just like we're seeing it happen on YouTube. Talking about magic, Jura fails to penetrate the M44 with a heat round. Now the M44 manages to spot him, but he's able to shut him down with a single shot and now hopefully get out of harm's way from the other artillery. Please don't be a heartbreak here, especially considering that Jura is not using a fire extinguisher. Any kind of splash damage to this vehicle when its engine does have a decent enough chance to be set on fire. If I want to be exact, a 12% chance to be set on fire could be fatal. All right, 11 kills. Jura, take it away, my friend. Alright, so just while Jura is making his way into position here, I want to highlight that, ladies and gentlemen, Daily QuickyBaby is going to be back. Just like I did last year, I released a video every day throughout November and December, and I want to try and do the same again. And considering that where I live in England has just announced that there's going to be another lockdown, and we're not allowed to leave the house apart from for exercise purposes, and yeah, I don't really end up usually getting too much of that. I think it's the perfect time to get back on the YouTube commentary and putting some more time into it. And Jura, it's my absolute pleasure to do that today with you starting off the Daily QuickyBaby for the rest of the year. If I miss a couple of days, I'll try and make up for it. I can't promise, but I will try. I will try my very best. And I hope to keep the quality of the videos as high as it's ever been. If not, when you're doing things daily, you get pretty good at it, right? Maybe we're even going to step it up a notch. Alright, Jura in a 1 versus 1 with the M44. I love what Jura is saying in the chat right now. It says, my heart, holy, come on. Don't cap, please. My poor heart. Yes, Jura. Okay, so when Jura was saying, please don't cap, what he was trying to suggest is that if there's this very awkward situation when you stop defending your cap circle, where you leave your cap circle and make your way towards the enemy base, that if they start capping at the same time as you, then it's going to end up being a draw. Or Jura would probably have to make his way back towards his cap circle and try and take out the M44. Right now, Jura, I really don't like where you're sitting. I'm going to be as bold as to say that, my friend. I would not sit in a bush right now. If I was the enemy artillery, I would shoot a couple of places. 1, behind this building. 2, I would probably shoot near the rubble in the center. And 3, it's going to be right into the bush. Jura, are you going to get fortunate enough with 5 seconds left? 3, 2, 1. The artillery does fire towards... randomly towards the edge of the cap circle, and that allows Jura to survive and deal what looks like nearly enough damage to be able to complete Tank Destroyer 15 Triumph for TD15, for the T-55A. That's absolutely outrageous that a tier 7 tank destroyer, I know loads of people who grind their tier 10 tank destroyers to try and complete this mission. You'd be able to achieve it at tier 7. Goodness gracious, Jura. Way to make the rest of us look bad, right, mate? And the first thing that I did after watching this replay was to go and look to see whether Jura hit any blind shots. And yes, he did. 6,213 damage, meaning that they did complete TD15 for the T-55A in a tier 7 tank destroyer. Wow, hats off to you, mate. So look at the battle heroes medals here for Jura. Obviously an ace tanker for 2,258 base experience. You could pretty much get half that experience, and still that would have probably been an ace tanker for the T-34-2G. He also manages to pick up the Pools medal for destroying at least 10 opponents, in this case 11, and the one that everybody wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against 5 at the end of the game and remaining victorious, or shall we say leaving the battle victorious. A tank sniper for dealing a large amount of that damage at long range. This was actually only 1,500 at over 300 meters, so it shows you that Jura actually managed to do 4,500 of that at close quarters distances. At least I would consider it for a tank destroyer. That's 6,200 damage, gets him a high caliber and an invader medal as well for capping out. And while Jura doesn't have a premium account and ends up losing a few credits here, but let's be honest, in a result like this, do you think you really mind if you end up losing 10,000 credits? Yeah, I wouldn't. Nevertheless, Jura, it pains me to see that you're playing this game without a premium account after you've just shown what a kind of an incredible player you are and how dedicated you must be to the game. So I'm going to personally get you 30 days of premium time. So once again, congrats and I hope you enjoy it. And considering that I'm going to be back doing daily videos for the rest of the year, this is your best time to have me check out some of your games, the awesome World of Tanks community. And if you want me to check out your games, I can't promise I'm going to, but feel free to upload them on the whatreplays.eu website and either put QB as Jura did, or QuickyBaby or QuickFingers, whatever in the title, to let me know that you're part of this community and that you want to have your games checked out. And if I like them, possibly even featured on this channel, just like Jura. So Jura, congrats to you once again. Thank you so much for uploading your replay on the What Replays website. Yeah, man, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And I hope all of you out there did too. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments what you think about the T-34-2G and specifically how Jura managed to get through this one. Did the Chinese tank destroyers surprise you? Are you going to go give them a go on the battlefield? And how likely is it, do you think, that QuickyBaby is actually going to be able to make it through daily YouTube videos for the rest of 2020? And also, if there's a specific video or topic that you've ever wanted me to talk about in World of Tanks, suggest it down below. I'll read it through and see if there's any good ideas in there. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.